This is question 2 of the 2019 Chance and Data exam paper, and this is continuing on about rugby players. So this graph below shows for rugby players representing New Zealand and Fiji, the relationship between the number of years since debut, i.e. the number of years that they've been representing their country, and the number of caps that they've received since their debut. So we've got years since debut along the bottom, and then number of caps awarded up here. So the first question says, on the graph above, draw a line that best approximates the relationship between years since debut versus the number of caps awarded for the rugby players representing the New Zealand and Fiji. So please actually draw a line on this. Now there's about 3 different kinds of lines that you can draw on this. You can draw a straight line that sort of makes sense. So I guess something like that sort of would make sense. You could draw sort of like a piecewise line, something maybe like that, and then, goes up there. Or you can actually just draw a non-linear, so a curved line, so sort of showing that it is increasing, maybe a little bit more closer to it, something a bit more like that. So either 3 of these would be acceptable as models to draw. All right, so I'm going to leave in both that one, and then I'm going to draw a straight line one. So I guess something like that would have been, maybe a bit particular about it, maybe a bit more like that would be fine. So one straight and one's non-linear. Then it says to comment on the appropriateness of this model and whether some other model would best fit. So this is really, they want you to draw a line, and if you draw a line that looks, as a good model, that would give you an achieved for this. But then if you go on to comment on it, that would give you the merit for it. So a comment may be something like with the linear graph, the linear line, say something like, it shows a good relationship in earlier years. However, not too sure about the modeling for, so it's sort of, especially up here, it gets really vague. So for, 10 years plus. But even like you can say it looks like it's really quite close to the mark in these earlier years, especially around here, 1 to 2 years, it's quite effective. But, it does sort of splay out a bit throughout here. So you can talk about that as well. Okay, so the other thing that if you have talked about the pink line there, if you've done a nonlinear model, that you can just say that the nonlinear model seems to fit the best, considering the 10-year plus players. But yep, so that kind of tends to work quite well. It doesn't really make sense for something like that to be nonlinear, but that's just within this piece of data that seems to make the most sense. So as long as you've justified it in some way about why you think that that's the best model, whether or not it's a linear, nonlinear, or if you went with piecewise, that would give you your merit mark for it. So the line is the achieved and the merit is the justification and comment.